Good place to be, Sterling. Good morning, folks. We're gonna go cover a silage pile. Yeehaw! Ethan's got the old pickup rolling. This is gonna be fun when I'm struggling to breathe. I will say you got some good friends when you joke about them coming to help cover the silage pile and they don't take it as a joke, they actually show up. Let them boys go. Good place to be, Sterling. Dun, dun, dun. She done. Cheers to that. It looks so empty out there. It's such a weird thing to just drive and be like, oh wow, I can see across the field, you know, versus just 6 foot tall corn. Get out of the waterer. And that's why it's a mess. It's not a freaking bathtub. You guys are weird. Look how beautiful she looks. Got a little bit of air movement happening, but she will tighten down a little bit as it ferments. It's gonna produce gas, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but kind of the loose areas where we're gonna open it up first anyway, so it's not so bad. We do dirt all the way around the edge. I don't know if we got the wrong cover or what, but we had excessive extra length and width, and we should not have had that much at all. So not really sure what happened there, but we cut it off because I was like, well, we can use it for something else. So that's how the pile is looking from all over. She looks pretty dang good. Real windy out here, so I'll get somewhere where I can talk to you without the wind to talk about what's going to happen here. But got her covered. I think it's the best it's ever covered. Nobody really like died hauling tires, so I felt like it was just a good option. But it's warm out today. Glad we did it this morning. Plus it got really windy right afterwards. So, excuse me. Why is there a heifer out? What is happening? Bruh. It's one of the twins. One of the twins that's on mom. What you doing? That's what I'm talking about. Not the right pen, but we'll get you to the right pen. Or it'd just be weaned early, I guess. We could do that. What it is lately, but we've been having calves getting out again. Otherwise, like, we went all summer without much of anything. And now lately they've been like, ha, surprise, I'm out again. Alright, silage pile is covered, it is chopped, it is all the things. So now we will let it sit there sealed and ferment for about at least 10 to 14 days, preferably kind of as long as we can. That just helps the silage do what it needs to do. So you want to make sure that the silage is chopped about the right moisture, that you minimize the exposure to oxygen. That way it can create the environment inside of whatever it's inside, whether it's a silo, it's a bag, it's covered with plastic like we did. That's why we covered it pretty quickly. We kind of got to play with like the wind and the weather when you are covering a pile, just because if you have 40-mile-an-hour winds, a big old piece of plastic is not super easy to keep down. So like we had like 10-mile-an-hour wind gusts this morning and it wanted to fly up. So let's nerd out just a little bit, just to kind of give you some context of what's happening with the packing and the covering and all of that. So corn silage is the entire corn plant ground up into one feed source. We will be chopping earlage as well out of the rest of the corn, which we'll get into the difference of those when we get to that video. We'll just dig into that then. As the plants are, you know, the corn is still alive, it is releasing carbon dioxide and producing heat. That is a product of that entire process. That creates an environment where certain bacteria can thrive that will begin the fermentation process that create the lactic and acetic acid that, you know, get our silage to be high quality like we want it to be. So we also apply inoculant to help with the fermentation process and preserve as much quality as we can. But there's like this balancing act of like the right moisture, the right amount of like packing. You got to do your best in order to have the best quality silage as possible, because if you have a difference in like it's too dry or it's too wet, fermentation is just, it's going to go one or the other, and then that's where your nutritional analysis at the end can be skewed. So we will be testing this to see what it is, and then our rations will be tweaked and balanced as based on the silage. So last year it was a little bit drier than we wanted. It still fermented really well, not 100% like your end goal, but it did ferment very well for what I thought, because it was quite dry. So we'll tweak our diets that way all of their nutritional needs are met. Make sure there are no mycotoxins, because sometimes if the wrong bacteria are present, you get too much of the wrong things, you can cause issues in cattle. So we'll test it to make sure like it's safe, they're good, and nobody wants to have issues with cows getting sick or dying or things from feed. But that's a little bit of like the process. We could get really nerdy. We're not gonna do that. The entire process, generally most of it is done within 2 to 3 weeks. There's still some going on for a couple of months. By the time we get to winter, it'll be 100% done, but we'll be feeding out of this probably in 2 or 3 weeks, ideally, hopefully, depending how fast that old silage we pulled out goes bad or we use it up, one of the two. Because once it's exposed to oxygen, it does start to kind of not do so well. So anyways, that is the method of the madness of corn silage a little bit. My brain is currently like all over the place. So if something did not make sense, or you're confused, or you have a question, feel free to ask. We'll dive into more as we get into earlage and all of that jazz, like I said. But my brain is like bleh after being like kind of sick, kind of not sick, and running around with like a chicken with my head cut off the last couple of days. But it feels good, so freaking good to have corn silage done. Because it's just like all of a sudden we were chopping and we were like not fully prepared, and it was just a really big couple of days. So as always, like I said, got any questions, drop in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on this video, and we will see you next time.